In my experience assisting college and med school applicants for nearly 2 decades, I've noticed that students tend to commit the same 5 common mistakes with their supplemental college essays. I'm going to cover each mistake and give you a step-by-step example of how to level up a weak supplemental essay. Mistake number 1 is failing to clearly articulate your goals. Working through college apps can create immense feelings of pressure to figure out exactly what you want to do with the rest of your life. Students often resort to overgeneralizing responses when answering prompts like, describe your career goals. While colleges do expect you to clearly articulate your college and career goals, they don't expect your goals to remain the same through all 4 years of college and beyond. Interests change, plans change, majors change, and even careers change. So don't worry that colleges are asking you to lock in your future the moment you select the major on their application, or even the major itself. All you need to do is identify which specific actions you could take in college to move forward the goals you've currently set for yourself. It's all about showing that you know how to set a goal and make an actionable plan in pursuit of that goal, even if the goal might shift over time. Mistake number 2 is telling instead of showing. You've probably heard the expression, show, don't tell, when writing college essays. If you want a college to know you're a hard worker, don't simply tell them, I'm a hard worker. Why should they believe you? Instead, show them what makes you a hard worker. Tell a story about how you managed to juggle a part-time job with AP classes, how you went to great lengths to solve a budgeting issue for your school's robotics club, or how you earned the trust of your family's shelter dog by developing a long-term training routine. Be careful not to just repeat the bullet points in your resume descriptions. If you want to mention something that appears on your resume, provide deeper context in your essay. Mistake number 3 is using overly formal language. Don't be afraid to write in your own voice, and maybe even incorporate humor into some of your essays if it feels natural to you. Remember, aside from the interviews that some colleges offer, your essays are the only way most colleges can really get to know you for you beyond mere test scores, GPAs, and extracurricular lists. Of course, you don't want to take too many liberties. Make sure your humor doesn't come off as offensive, and avoid using slang or super casual expressions that you'd normally only use among close friends. Mistake number 4 is failing to demonstrate fit. Like a missing puzzle piece, how will you fit into this particular campus community? Don't just regurgitate the things a school is most well known for, like their rank, size, or reputation. Look up their core values or mission statement and demonstrate how you embody those values through personal anecdotes. Take some time to look at courses, research opportunities, and extracurriculars that pertain to your specific interests, values, or goals, like a hiking club where you can maintain your connection to nature, or an internship opportunity where you can explore a specific branch of stem cell research. Part of demonstrating your fit for a college also includes describing what you intend to contribute to the campus community. You might be feeling humble and asking yourself, but what can I possibly offer a world-renowned university? Here's the thing. A school is only as good as the actions, discoveries, and ideas of its students and faculty. What are some ways, both small, everyday ways, and big picture, long-term ways, that you can envision yourself making the campus an even better place to be? Mistake number 5 is failing to show growth. Like in your personal statement essay, it's important that your supplemental essays convey your ability to grow, adapt, and take on new challenges. If you respond to a question like, how have you shown leadership, with a list of your leadership positions, you miss out on the chance to tell a story about how you've overcome specific challenges and learned difficult lessons about what it takes to be a good leader. Colleges want to know that you're prepared to thrive in an unfamiliar social and academic environment, and that means proving to them that you have the tools and skills to cope with any challenge. Now that we've covered 5 common supplemental essay mistakes, we're going to analyze one of Dartmouth's supplemental essay prompts and identify key weaknesses in a sample response before reviewing a much stronger answer. The prompt reads, as noted in the college's mission statement, Dartmouth educates the most promising students and prepares them for a lifetime of learning and of responsible leadership. Promise and potential are important aspects of the assessment of any college application, but they can be elusive qualities to capture. Highlight your potential and promise for us. What would you like us to know about you? You'll have up to 250 words to answer this prompt. A weak draft in response to this prompt might read something like this. When the COVID-19 pandemic unleashed its fury around the globe, I grew increasingly aware of the unacceptable injustices and inequalities prevalent within our modern society. In the chaos that ensued during the initial stages of the pandemic, millions were losing their jobs, struggling to put food on the table, battling mental health crises, and suffering from preventable diseases due to overcapacity hospitals. From the very first paragraph, we find an example of mistake number 3, using overly formal language. It's difficult to get a sense of the student's real voice and personality when the essay is filled with dense sentences like these. If you like to use longer, descriptive words and sentences, that's okay, but make sure to use them sparingly and only when they really help you emphasize an important point. Moving on to the next paragraph, the student wrote, "It was during that gruesome period in our nation's history that I reached an epiphany about my future career. I realized that I wanted to become an engineer in order to improve lives." In this single sentence, we find both mistake number 5, failing to show growth, and mistake number 1, failing to clearly articulate your goals. Let's break it down. The first half of the sentence reads, "It was during that gruesome period in our nation's history that I reached an epiphany about my future career." This student fails to show growth because while they've noted a turning point that helped them identify their career goals, they never explain what challenges or experiences prompted that moment of realization. Moving on to the second half of the sentence, it reads, "I realized that I want to become an engineer in order to improve lives." Here, the student has failed to clearly articulate their goals because, while they've technically identified that they want to be an engineer and improve lives, those scant details leave a lot to the imagination. What areas of engineering are they interested in? In what ways do they hope to improve lives? How does this connect to their experience during the pandemic? In the third paragraph, we have, "The following year, I enrolled in my high school's Principles of Engineering course in order to fully develop my understanding of the complex concepts that underlie the modern era's greatest advancements. I was fascinated to learn about concepts like mechanisms, materials, automation, and kinematics, and I was overjoyed to receive an A for my final grade in the class. I also joined the robotics club, where I led my team to victory at the state competition in the fall of sophomore year." We're nearing the end of the essay now, and we still aren't any closer to finding out why this student is interested in engineering. Here, the student has committed mistake number 2, telling instead of showing. The details about getting an A in Principles of Engineering and winning a state robotics competition could have been copy-pasted straight from the student's transcript and resume. They don't provide any further context about why those experiences were relevant or how they shaped the student's passion for engineering. Moving on to the final paragraph, it reads, "In college, I will continue to diligently pursue this passion for engineering as I seek to make the world a better place through revolutionary new technologies." This is a clear example of mistake number 4. The student has failed to demonstrate why they're a good fit for Dartmouth because technically they could pursue their general passion for making the world a better place through revolutionary new technologies at nearly any college that offers an engineering major. The Dartmouth Admissions Committee will want to know what about their engineering program specifically aligns with the student's interests and goals. After addressing each of the 5 common mistakes, we can end up with a much stronger draft, like this. "My 75-year-old Aunt Patricia lived alone during the lockdown of 2020 when her senior center stopped holding weekly bingo nights and her church went fully virtual. She'd never connected to Wi-Fi, so suddenly her only links to the outside world were local TV stations and her 2012 Nokia phone." From the first sentence in this essay, we can see that mistake number 2, telling instead of showing, has already been addressed. By narrowing the scope of the essay to focus on their experience helping Aunt Patricia during the early days of the pandemic, the student can show specific examples of how the pandemic affected individual lives rather than making generalized statements telling about all of the far-reaching global issues the pandemic sparked. The next paragraph reads, "I started calling to check in on her, and I was shocked to learn that she couldn't schedule a vaccine appointment without internet access. So-called conveniences like Instacart, curbside pickup, and Zoom calls were actually huge hurdles for people like Aunt Patricia, who had neither the technology nor the experience to navigate this new normal." The first sentence signals the moment of realization that led the student to develop their specific engineering interests. It's an important component in addressing mistake number 5, failing to show growth, and the rest of that growth journey unfolds later in the essay. After we were both vaccinated, I took my data-enabled iPad to Aunt Patricia's house and taught her the basics. The first time she typed a question into Google, "What ingredients do I need for creamy chicken casserole?" we were both cheering. For the first time in months, she gained aspects of her independence back. Have you noticed how the language throughout this draft feels much more natural, and it gives us a better sense of the student's personality? The student has done a great job of fixing mistake number 3, using overly formal language. And now let's move on to the final paragraph. I've always known I love to make things, but now, more than just inventing new technologies, I know I want to make them accessible for people of all ages, abilities, and economic statuses. I hope to connect with the Thayer School of Engineering Center for Translation of Rehabilitation, Engineering Advances, and Technology, TREAT, which helps researchers and bioengineers effectively develop and market new assistive technologies so they reach the people who would most benefit from them. I look forward to collaborating with other researchers to develop assistive technologies beyond even our own imagination. Looking at the first 2 sentences here, they do a great job of summarizing how the student has grown and developed a clear sense of their goals as a result of this experience. Both mistake number 1, failing to articulate your goals, and mistake number 5, failing to show growth, are resolved here. The remainder of the essay is a fantastic example of how to fix mistake number 4, failing to demonstrate fit. In this draft, the student has cited a specific research center at Dartmouth that aligns with their interests and goals and describe concrete ways that they envision themselves getting involved and contributing on campus. Considering each of these 2 drafts, try to put yourself in the shoes of an admissions officer for a moment. Which essay feels more memorable? Which essay gives you more confidence that this student can walk the walk and not just talk the talk? Which essay seems like it was written by a student who's genuinely invested in Dartmouth's campus culture and opportunities and ready to hit the ground running as a contributing member of the campus community freshman year? I think it's pretty clear that the second draft sweeps the podium in all of those categories. It conveys a story unique to the student's individual experience, rather than just listing accomplishments and making empty claims about having an interest in engineering. It's written in an approachable yet still professional voice. It demonstrates how the student grew and learned something about themselves over time. It clearly articulates what the student wants to accomplish in their future career, and it demonstrates exactly why the student feels that Dartmouth is the ideal place for them to work toward their goals. Once you're able to identify these 5 common supplemental essay mistakes in your own college essays and practice fixing them, you'll be able to significantly level up your college applications. And if you found this example helpful, we've got a lot more where that came from. Check out our College Supplemental Essays Premium Example Hub to gain access to hundreds more supplemental essay responses to this year's supplemental prompts for the top universities and BSMD programs in the US.